We have seen how to create static web pages. This is a page I created by putting a title and then a table that I copied from the Bulma documentation. It's a page.html and I'm reading it from my local file system. The question now is, how do I make this web page served by Py4Web? Okay, so if I look at my installation of Py4Web, I have in the apps folder various applications, and I want to create a new one. Let me call it soccer simply, where I want to serve this page static. So the page is still static, but I want to serve it to anyone on the internet, or at least to myself when I visit my own laptop, not simply when I load a file via Py4Web. Okay, so the first step is that I want to create a new app. Which app should you start from? Well, it's your choice. Let's see the various choices. Minimal is an app that contains the minimal possible content, and I could use this. This would be a reasonable choice. Then there is a Scaffold, which is a fairly full-fledged app written by Massimo, so that when you want to create a new app, you start with that. But the one I prefer is Scaffold Bulma. Scaffold is built on no CSS, and I prefer to build on Bulma CSS, so I prefer to use this. So let's look at the instructions for cloning. This is what I need to do to clone this. I copy this command, okay, from the Scaffold Bulma repository. Then I go into the apps folder, okay, and I give the command git clone, but I want to specify the destination app, and I call it soccer. Okay, so if I do this will clone into soccer. It's already done. And if I go look, now I have the soccer app. This is great. So let's look at the soccer app. It contains many things, and I can tell you that generally static is a directory where we'll keep things that we serve statically, such as images, CSS, and also JavaScript. Databases is a place where the database will be stored. This is a development database, it's not a production one, but it will enable us to test our app together with a database. Translation is for translation in multiple languages. Templates is where the web pages that we want to serve go. So it is here that I want to make a copy of our of this page, of the soccer table page. Okay, so let me do that. So how do I cause my new page to be served? I can do it in two ways. The most trivial way, and the way we will not be using very often at all, would be the following. In this static directory, as I mentioned, there is CSS code that we can serve, JavaScript, and I can create an HTML directory in which I can put static HTML if I so wish. For example, here in the HTML, I copied my page, okay? And so, if I start or restart Web2Py, Py4Web, I'm sorry, this page will be served if I ask for the soccer app, the file that is in static HTML page.html. So the directory is composed as follows. Okay, I can build that. This is the path, the server path that is given here to which Py4Web is listening. Okay, and then I go to the soccer app, to the static folder, the HTML folder within the static folder, and then page.html. And if I load these, okay, well, I get the page. Now, this we will be doing essentially never. The reasons are two. First of all, we are interested in building dynamic pages. We are not interested in building a front page that looks always the same and be done with it. Okay, we are interested in serving dynamic web apps in our class. And the second reason is that even if we are interested in serving static pages, we would like to be able to serve them in a way that is richer, so that we can essentially have a common look to all our pages. But the short story is that I want to put the page not in the static, but actually in templates. I already put it there. Only if I put it there, I need to serve it via code. I need to control the serving of these pages in templates via code. And so I want to tell you the story of what Py4Web does when you actually turn it on and start serving pages. So what does Py4Web do in order to serve an application such as soccer? What Py4Web does is that it loads the folder soccer as it loads a Python module. And so when it does so, it loads the file that is called init.py. The file init.py, in turns, imports Py4Web, which is a general library. Okay, this Py4Web that is being imported is this library here. Okay, so it imports Py4Web. It checks that everything is compatible, you know, some version check, I guess. And then it does various things. You see, there are these various files that are the minimum files of a normally functioning app. And it's importing the definition of the database from the models, and it's importing all the controllers. Essentially, it's importing a database connection, and it's importing the controllers. Let us look what the controllers are, okay, before we do other things. So the controllers is an empty file at this point. Oh, actually, no, it serves an index page. Fine. So I'll ask it to serve, just as it serves the index page, I'll ask it to serve my new page.html. So I say action, and this action is meant to indicate at what URL the page I want to serve is. For example, I can say that my page is going to be not at page.html, but for example, soccer page. I can give it any name I want, okay? So this is the URL at which the page will be served, will be found. Then I can say action.uses, and this action.uses is a way to declare the elements that are needed in order to build the page. To build the index, we need a database connection and author mechanism to log in and out, and then the index page proper. But to use our page, we just need to say page.html. By default, what you write here in action uses will be found among the templates. So it will use this page.html. So you do this. Then you say def, and the name of the function you use is arbitrary. For example, I can call it serve soccer, and I can return. So you have to return, if you want to serve a web page, a dictionary. The dictionary is used in a way that will be clear in a moment. Essentially, it will be a dictionary of optional values that are used to personalize and extend the page you are serving, okay? So for the moment, I just return an empty dictionary. I don't do anything else. So let's see whether this works. I save it. I restart the server because I want this Python code to be reloaded, okay? So this, I need to check that there are no errors here as I reload the server, by the way. And once I do this, I can go here, and instead of accessing static HTML, page HTML, I can access exactly what I declared here, soccer page. So I remove this part and I write soccer page. Will this work? Yes, it worked. I mean, I know it's very anticlimactic because the same page is returned, right? But I can get it at another URL. And if you think that I'm essentially cheating, you know, if you modify this URL, you actually get a 404 error not found. So I'm not actually cheating, okay? This page is being served. In fact, let's play with it a moment. This is a Python code to serve the page. You may not believe because nothing happens that this code is running, but I can say, for example, print, yes, I am really serving a page, okay? And if I do this, I need to restart the code, okay? Now watch what happens. Let me shorten a moment this window, okay? So when I reload this page, I print that. And if I reload multiple times, this works multiple times. So this also tells you, by the way, how you can add the print statements into the code you are testing, okay? In order to test it, obviously. Let us go one step further. So the problem of doing things this way, I mean, it's not a huge problem, but the problem of doing things this way is that I need to build every page independently from all others. Typically, when you build a site, you want to give the site a uniform look with a uniform header, footer, login mechanism, all this kind of stuff, right? So it so turns out that inside these templates, there is one that is called layout, and you can read it if you wish, and maybe you should in fact slowly read it. And this contains all the general stuff that you need in order to make a page look nice, with a hole in the middle defined for where your actual content of the page will go. Let's look at it a moment. You see doctype HTML, then there is a header in which I already load Bulma, as a matter of fact, and I load also some other stuff that will be useful later. I build a navigation bar. Let's not go into the details, but I already have some mechanism in order to log in and log out here. Okay, so this is logout, profile, change password, and this is the login, etc., etc. So there are already these mechanisms built in. And then there is this thing here that is all important, include. So this is essentially the hole in which I can place any content that I want to serve specific to that particular page. And then it has a footer. Okay, so let me try actually to change this page that is standalone into a page that uses this template in order to render more nicely. Okay, so well, I could simply duplicate it, so I can copy and I can paste it, I guess, and I can call it page using template. Okay, long name, but why not? Okay, sure. Okay, now that I have the page that uses a template, okay, it is just like the other page. What do? Well, I strip these things because these already belong to the template. I don't need to repeat them. Okay, this page is quite long. But I strip these and I also strip the end. Okay, and what I say is, and if you forget, you can look at examples, right? For example, you can look at the index page. You see, there is this line extend layout.html. So if you say extend layout.html, Python Web will take your page and use it to fill the hole in layout.html. So now I do this, okay, and I leave the rest unchanged. I just strip the top and bottom and added these. And in my controller here, instead of saying page.html, I have to say page using templates.html. Now, if I do this, the template per se needs to worry about whether the user is logged in or logged out. So we will cover later in class how that works, but copy the database and the auth component because those are needed. Okay, so we just copy them and I'll describe them later. I restart Python Web. Okay, and now if I go to soccer page, still the same page, but if I reload these, well, nothing happens. Why? So after a mild amount of panic, I noticed that here the file is called page using template. And here, instead, what I'm saying is page using templates with an S. Oi, oi, oi. So let me try once more. Okay. So, when you get strange results, always look around, I guess, is a lesson here. Okay, and so what I do is now that I get my soccer table just as before, but you see, this header at the top the footer at the bottom belong to the template, and so do the buttons for logging in and logging out and signing up, which already work, by the way. You have to do zero effort in order to enable the login mechanism. You just need to extend the template and have this database and auth listed among what the action uses. These are components, I will explain them later in detail, but notice that you can already use them. I can already sign up, okay, and I don't think I've already signed up, so I have to essentially do it. Let's try Luca De Alfaro, and I can sign up. Hello. Yeah, it redirected me to the index. I didn't want to go here. I think I wanted to go to, where did I want to go? Sorry, I got lost. The soccer page. Okay, but I get here. So, and now I'm logged in. So this seems to work. I can log out, I can check my profile, I can change my password, I can do various things. Okay, so this is very good, and I want to finish by describing what is the purpose of each one of these files. So I want to tell you a little bit about the structure of Pi4Web.